Hey, today I'd like us to talk about retrograde planets in 2023. I'm making this video in August, and there are already multiple planets in retrograde, and there will be more joining that list as we move through the end of the year. Now, as a result, I've already started to see so many what I like to call astrology amber alerts on social media telling you, don't do this, don't do that, don't do anything basically, which is impossible. So I really wanted us to talk about this subject and what it really means for planets to be in retrograde and why you should not be scared of that happening. Planets are in retrograde all the time, and there are already so many things in our lives that are pushing us to feel fear, to feel paralyzed in our lack of power, that astrology shouldn't really be one of them. So anyway, let's get into it. So let's talk about what are retrograde planets and how we can work with each energy and what they're trying to tell us in our everyday life. Okay, I'm gonna need my glasses for this one. First of all, what is a retrograde planet? You guys know how the planets go around the sun in an ellipsis kind of shape. A retrograde is the point in that ellipse that it looks like a planet is going backwards. They're not actually going backwards. It is just an optical illusion from the point in which we're standing on Earth. It looks like the planet is going backwards instead of coming towards us. So like I said, there are planets in retrograde all the time. We should not be afraid of them. The energy that comes during a retrograde is a little bit more intense. It is the same energy that that planet gives all the time, but it's more intense to the point where that energy becomes wasteful, where you're doing that thing too much, where it can become a negative. You know, if you put too much sugar in your coffee, it's disgusting. And that point at which it becomes disgusting is different for all of us. But too much of a thing can be bad as well. So that is what a retrograde planet means. The energy that it's given is just a little too intense. And we just need to handle that energy differently. For me, I feel like a retrograde is a moment in time in which we have an opportunity to use discernment, to cultivate our judgment of whatever we're going through in life and learn from that experience. And at this point, I don't know where I heard this, but a while ago I heard you can learn through wisdom or you can learn through pain. And I think a lot of people learn, unfortunately, through pain. Like, if you're not aware of your own self-growth journey, if you're not invested, you're more likely to repeat your mistakes and suffer and grow through pain. I hope you're growing. So if you're really afraid of the retrograde, this is a moment in time for you to exercise your judgment and change your behavior if you feel like that's needed. So I thought we would look at all the retrogrades that are coming up and have a quick chat about what they mean and what you can do with the energy of the planet. Venus will be in retrograde from July 23rd to September 4th of 2023. So as I said, I'm making this video already halfway through August of 2023, and we're in the middle of Venus retrograde, and Venus is in Leo. A lot of people are afraid of Venus retrograde because it does potentially bring exes back into your life, old friends back into your life, karmic relationships, new or old, into your life. So there's a lot of fear around this Venus in retrograde. However, while you cannot control who comes into your life, you can absolutely control yourself and how you behave according to what lessons you've been learning in life. So this Venus retrograde is in Leo. Leo talks about pride, being regal, like royalty, like the king of the jungle. And so what lessons of love have you personally been learning that relate to pride? And more specifically, if you do have exes that come back into your life, ask yourself, what lesson was this person teaching me? Is this an ex that helped you love yourself? Is this an ex that truly gave you love? Because as I was saying, the planets in retrograde, they're giving intense, excessive energy. And so this is a moment for you to realize, are you loving yourself? Are you actually giving your love to people that deserve your love? Because we can go through life giving love to people that don't deserve it, and then we wonder why we don't get love in return. We wonder why we don't love ourselves, right? So really look at all the relationships, whether they're coming back or not, What have they been teaching you in life? Or if you're somebody that constantly gives to others, are you giving love to yourself? When you go towards people that mistreat you, are you showing love to yourself just because you don't want to be alone? Or would you rather work in loving yourself and maybe wait until better relationships come along? Now, I understand why some people might have actual fear of this Venus retrograde, because for some people, their exes actually might potentially mean a dangerous scenario and situation in which your life might be at risk, or you just might be at risk for DV, etc. So then for you, this Venus retrograde is, do you love yourself enough to put a plan into action in case anything happens? Do you have a support system that loves you in case you need to go to them for help? Now that is the extreme situation, which is really dangerous for some people, and it might even mean for some people getting out of relationships. Like, we've seen so many celebrities get out of relationships this summer, but especially if you're in a relationship where you're physically suffering because of DB or SA or any kind of, I can't say the words. I'm trying to say the words, but ABUSE, then do you need to love yourself enough to ask for help? I'm trying to be serious because I understand for some people, their exes actually signify real danger. And so this is what this moment in time could potentially mean for you. While for other people, it might just be as simple as not letting your exes back into your life that don't deserve to be in your life now. Really analyzing how the relationship went, and is this a person that can actually offer you love? So I wish the best to everybody with this Venus retrograde, and I hope that everybody stays safe. As I mentioned, for some people this could be an extreme situation. Now the next retrograde happening later this month is Mercury. This Mercury retrograde will happen between August 23rd to September 15th of this year. A lot of people feel like it brings delays, obstacles, misunderstandings when it comes to communication. But Mercury actually represents intellect. I think it really is about using your mind to plan for any potential mishaps when it comes to technology or people's minds. We're gonna have to use our intellect to plan ahead so that that conversation can happen with less friction, like especially if it's at work or with somebody that you just don't get as along as well. Like if you know that there are very important presentations you need to give, maybe you need to have backups, because people also see breakdown in the technology. But again, I don't think it's the communication, I think it's the brain in the actual technology that is breaking down during Mercury retrograde. And later in the year, during December 13th through January 2nd. So plan ahead for your holidays. If you're going to be around family, make sure that you are really thinking through how you're communicating with others so that your message can be understood more easily. Now this Mercury retrograde is happening in Virgo this summer and in Capricorn in December. Virgo represents healing, service. So how can you use your intellect to plan for your communication to help you heal with other people? Rather than get into conflict, how can you heal those conflicts? How can you avoid, or if not avoid, just plan for resolving those conflicts? If you know you have to approach somebody that you don't get along with, how can you do that? Do you need to have somebody as a witness, like a third or neutral party? Do you need to have it in writing, etc., etc.? And then later in the year, during the holidays, it is going to happen in Capricorn. How can you use your mind, your intellect, to plan around the hard work involved with the holidays? Maybe your family is hard work for you. So how can you plan to communicate, interact with them so that things don't go awry? Things don't go awry. Alright? I think you know what I'm trying to say. Holidays are a stressful, difficult time for people. Not all families, well, most families do not have perfect relationships. There might be some misunderstandings there. So instead of taking things personally, maybe plan to have an open mind, be willing to work on conflict resolution, even if it's hard work, which it always is with our family. In September, we will have Jupiter in retrograde in the sign of Taurus, and this will happen from September 4th until the end of the year, December 31st. Now, Jupiter represents teaching, wisdom, expansion, but more of a mind expansion, like inner wealth, inner abundance. And Taurus represents material things, often like financial things or like more tangible things. So like I was saying, if retrograde planets mean that is an overuse of the energy, you really need to examine where are you putting your energy when it comes to things related to teaching, giving wisdom to people. Like, are you somebody that gives advice to people that never take it? Maybe you need to rein your energy in. Or the opposite of that, are you somebody that goes to teachers that don't teach you things worthy of your time? Do you have mentors in your life? Are they the right mentors for you? Or have you been giving your energy to the wrong mentors, especially around things related to material things, like can include finance? Are you listening to the wrong financial gurus on social media? Or are you yourself telling other people to focus on the wrong material things in your advice, for example? This could go a lot of different ways, but related to teaching and wisdom, it could be that you're the teacher, it could be that you're going to the wrong teachers, you're acquiring the wrong information. You really need to use your judgment towards this end of the year about what kind of information are you taking in, and is it really giving you good results, or should you move on to a new teacher, to new teachings? The next retrograde on my list is Saturn, and we're also in the middle of this retrograde right now. It started on June 17th and it will end on November 4th of this year. Now, Saturn, we know, is a planet of obstacles, delays, boundaries, hard work. So once again, if retrogrades are about too much intense energy, which areas of your life are you actually putting too much hard work? And this doesn't mean be lazy, it means use your judgment. You know how they say, have you ever heard the expression, 80% of results come from 20% of what you do? Really use your judgment during the upcoming months all the way to November to see where in your life are you applying unnecessary hard work. Like, if you're trying so hard and you're seeing no results, then maybe you need to pull back, right? And focus a little bit more on, like, I hate that phrase, but it's true, like working smarter, not harder. I just hate that it's like a corporate lingo kind of thing. And it's so funny that I started my astrology channel during the Saturn retrograde because I felt like I was working too hard, not getting results, right? So that is exactly what we're supposed to be examining right now. This Saturn is in retrograde in Pisces. So using your emotions, your empathy, your intuition, in which areas of your life are your emotional investment, your empathy for others, making you work really hard and you're not really seeing results. Now, Chiron is a meteor and it's in retrograde, has been in retrograde since July 23rd and it will end in July 27th. Chiron represents the wounded healer, the person that is wounded but goes on to heal their own wounds and heals others as a result. If Chiron is in retrograde and this is an intensity of wounds, there are likely many people right now experiencing so much of their pain. How can you actually heal that pain rather than escape it, lash out to other people, or hurt yourself because you're hurting too much? And Chiron is in Aries. Aries is about taking inspired action. So how can you take inspired action to heal your wounds through the likely overwhelming amount of pain that you're going through? Now, the last three planets, Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, are in Vedic astrology considered generational planets, and I'm gonna agree. These three planet energies are affecting generations in our society, not just like individual people. The first one being Pluto in retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. Pluto signifies destruction, chaos, and Aquarius is related to technology, progress. This retrograde started on May 1st and it will end October 11th. So right now the generations are actually should be using their judgment and thinking about what are the structures that are worth keeping. Yes, we have destroyed so many industries, whether we wanted to or not, or simply because we can't afford it. But which ones are worth keeping? Which industries should be built? Because in destruction, there's also creation. The next generational planet that is affecting us in retrograde is Neptune, and Neptune is in retrograde in Pisces. This one started on June 30th, and it will go all the way through December 6th. Now, Neptune is a planet of illusions, and this retrograde is in Pisces, so our emotions become involved, right? So how can we use our judgment to discern what is real and what is an illusion? If in retrograde there's an excessive amount of energy, then there's too much illusion, and we need to use maybe a little bit more of our logic so that our emotions don't become as involved, and we can see clearly through our feelings, see clearly through the illusions that are happening on a societal level. And Uranus is in retrograde starting at the end of this month, August 27th, and it will end January 27th of 2024. Now, Uranus is about a new way of looking at things. A lot of people say it's about rebellion, it's about new inventions. And Taurus, as we discussed earlier, is about material things. So right now on a societal level, we will likely begin to explore and judge. And judge has a negative connotation, but it just means examining, right? We will really begin to examine what are we creating or acquiring in our lives that are unnecessary. We think they're for our comfort, but are they actually helping us, or are they just keeping us stuck in the past? And for me, it really makes me think of like how many young people are now so interested in environmentalism, right? Which includes like not just mindless consuming, like what are actual things that we need in our lives, and moving away from the things that we don't really need. We've been told that we need to have all these kinds of things, but maybe they are just creating more waste in our environment. Maybe we need to rethink our life, right? To see what are the things that we can live without, and the things that we really actually need in our lives to truly give us comfort, truly help us feel better in our everyday life. Especially with this retrograde happening over the holidays, and all the holidays that are involved with like giving things like Thanksgiving, even if it's like food, Halloween, giving candy, Christmas. I was raised Catholic, so I don't know any other religion, so I'm sorry. But a lot of the holidays are involved like material things. And so a lot of people are going to be thinking like, do I want to really be giving people all this useless stuff? Or I should say, people should be thinking about what is actually worthy of having in your home. Maybe instead of giving 5 useless gifts, maybe you give 1 good gift. Especially being that people are having financial hardships right now. Like those things are not separate from each other. They're all getting us to think about what are the things that really matter in our world, and what are the things that are harming our environment, versus what are the things that are actually helping us thrive as people. And that is all the retrograde planets that we will have in 2023. I hope that this was a useful video, and I hope that when people tell you to be afraid of retrogrades, that you take a step back and just think about what planet is in retrograde, what is that energy giving too much of, and what kind of discernment do you need to instill in your life so you can get through the retrograde. I think it's really unfair that, you know, these videos that make us feel afraid and make us feel like we should be paralyzed into not taking action, they get to so many beginners of astrology, including myself, and it's not really fair, because those videos, they do great on the algorithm because they cause a emotional reaction in people, but they're not true. You can't just sit around and do nothing for half a year while 7 retrogrades are happening. Like, most people don't live that kind of life, so it's unrealistic that we just are going to be afraid and do nothing for 7 months. So that's really the reason why I wanted to make this video, and thank you so much for watching if you still are. Subscribe if you'd like to continue talking about astrology and how to harness your authentic power, and I'll see you in the next one. Also, shout out to my first 4 subscribers. Nothing more humbling than starting a new channel in 2023. Follow me on TikTok and here on YouTube if you like this video. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.